Thank you and good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased and thankful for the opportunity to be here in Paris in Le Grand Palais, an amazing building where I will introduce a panel which is really impressive because all these people have initiated great projects so far. And when preparing my short speech this morning, I was wondering, guys, what is your legitimacy there? Because to avoid any confusion, I am not James Thornton. I'm not the founder of ClientEarth. So for the time being, I joined very recently the organization. And so I was thinking, how can I claim some legitimacy here to open up the discussions? And then I was referring to the title of our presentation, the Empowering Citizen. And I was also thinking about a few questions that our moderator circulated and asked us to tackle during the discussions. And she said, try to show how the impact of the changes are actually growing on the younger citizens, and also try to show how these younger citizens are actually having an impact on all these changes. And then I was further thinking, maybe the best for me would be maybe to explain shortly why I joined recently ClientEarth. Because until very recently, I was working at the other side of the river. Actually, my law firm, which is a well-known, my previous law firm, sorry, which was a well-known one in Paris, called Prêt, is a super boutique law firm specialized in business law. And I was dealing with big mergers, big cartel cases, etc. Not at all discussing what I'd like to introduce you today. And so I thought maybe by explaining the reasons of my choice, I can claim some legitimacy in the discussions here. And so at the end of the day, there are two main reasons why I decided to change my professional path and I decided to join ClientEarth. The first one is my kids. I got 4 children, some of them going to university now and asking me all the time, questioning, even harassing me, what are you doing, Dad? Is it really useful to help this big corporation to merge together and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger at the end of the day? And the other reason is that I'm a bird watcher for many, many years. And so I've always been very attracted to the protection of the nature. And so before joining ClientEarth, actually, I was unable to reconcile my professional skills as a supposed legal expert and also my personal and human aspirations. I like the nature, I'd like to do something there. And by joining ClientEarth, I met with James Thornton in July last year, and I felt this guy is super inspirational. He will help me reconciling those two aspects of my professional life, the law and the protection of the nature. And this is the main reasons why I decided to change. And now maybe it's over for my explanation about my potential legitimacy, and I suggest we turn to ClientEarth, who is, and I'll try to make sure you see anything. How can I go to my slideshow? Thank you. So I'll try to explain you why, at the end of the day, law is actually empowering citizens, and this is really important, empowering citizens to achieve fantastic results, and results that actually can change the system, and we can do that in a positive way. It's another aspect of what I'm doing now for 6 months. I'm feeling much younger, sorry for that, I may not look like a young guy, but I felt that I've won like 20 years by changing my career. And it's also because I'm all the day with people that would like to change the system. And not only very successful activists, but regular lawyers, gray guys and women that look at papers and say, we're going to do something. And this is really a passionate context. So ClientEarth, what it is, ClientEarth is actually a charity. So for the ones that are not used to the Anglo-Saxon world, it means it's an NGO, a non-governmental organization, that is doing something not for earning money or increasing profits, but just for doing it. And it's a charity that has been set up by James Thornton, a US qualified lawyer that joined London at that time, and said something needs to be done here. Someone in the law area has to take care about the protection of the environment. And so he set up a very small organization at the very beginning. There were like 6 during the first year, and all in London. And then it spread over and over and over. And I will come to the story where we are today. So I'm trying to scope with my presentation. So we are actually using the law at every single step of the law. We're not only going to court, because people know the ones that are active in courtrooms, and they see these guys have won, like the Constitutional Court of yesterday, fantastic achievement in France. And we will look at the lawyers working on this. But we are also working from the very beginning of the law. So we are actually organizing our work starting from sound scientific evidence. If we take care of a topic, we'll start to discuss with academics and scientists to understand precisely where are the different angles of the topic. And then we start to talk to the regulators and the legislators. We try to influence them in creating, drafting new laws. And then we help them. I'm sorry, I should use the system as well here. So we're trying to draft the law, we try to support the implementation of the law, and we are also checking whether all the authorities and the businesses are complying with the law. And then finally, we engage the lawbreakers. And so we try to enforce law. It's the most, I must admit, it's the most exciting part of the job for a lawyer. It's going to court and convince a judge that you're right. So we are definitely at ClientEarth using the law for three different aspects. Our main topic, our main target, we want to fight the climate change. Secondly, because it's essential and it actually touched upon the topic we have today, we are empowering the people. We have a dedicated team working on access to justice. And it's a very, very important team in our organization. It's even the cornerstone of what we do. It's getting access to the courtroom helps you having access to the people drafting the law, because they need to listen to what you have in mind. And then we are also trying, while also fighting the climate change, we're trying to protect the nature of our world. This is our mission. And we do that, and this is something, it's a requirement, an internal requirement. We're trying to do this very positively. So every day, even when we have a defeat, we try to take it positively. The Brexit that happened yesterday was a sad decision for the organization, and we think it might be a dangerous aspect for the law as well, because the European system is really protecting much more than other systems the environment and trying to do something to tackle the climate changes. And by being excluded from that, there is a risk that the UK may have more difficulties to enforce the same type of standards in protection of the nature. So we work nowadays we have 5 offices, 12 years of existence, 160 people, mainly lawyers, but also a growing team of communication and developers, which is interesting because I think it touches as well our topic today. So, and we are all around the world for the time being. Less in the United States than other, because there we have other friendly organizations that are doing quite the same as we do. More and more in Asia, because of course, I mean, Asia is the next big step for protecting the environment and tackling the climate change. The economic and demographic growth of this area is definitely the main target. If we don't do anything there, and we just focus on what's happening here in France, in the UK, in Europe, I mean, we will lose a struggle. We are needed, and we felt we are needed, and it's an important aspect of what we do, is that we usually have the impression that all the other NGOs which are dealing with the drafting of new bills, the implementation, etc., they have no legal expertise. And when they look for legal expertise, they go to law firms. And some law firms, usually the best ones, are actually conflicted out because they are also having other clients. They may not actually go against them. So it's an area where we can bring some added value because we know the law, or at least we claim to know the law, and we are trying to explain why by changing it a few words, a very few words in an annex into a regulation, we can actually change the system drastically. We have also, as I said already, I'm not going to spend more time on this, but we have based all our approach on the idea that we cannot go and claim that something is better in this way than the other if we have not gone through a sound scientific evidence review. And so this is why we are closely connected with a number of academics in Europe and outside Europe, because we feel that once you are actually organizing the law on the basis of these rigorous academic approach, you can indeed change the system on a long-standing basis. And so since 2007, what are the main areas of achievement? And I'm seeing that my time is running very, very fast. I'm too passionate, I should be stricter. So we have, I'm not going to try to summarize what we have done in 12 years, but mainly we are tackling the coal power stations, which are polluting a lot, and it's still representing 40% of the power systems in the world. And China, for example, who is doing a good job internally, has not yet gone to the point that they would like to review their infrastructure project in terms of coal power stations in their Belt and Road Initiative that you all know. They are spending trillions of dollars outside of China to connect China to Africa and Asia. And this is an area where we would like to invest a lot, to go to explain them this is not the best way to secure life for everyone in China and outside China. We are also tackling issues of air pollutions in the cities. And in Paris, in Barcelona, in Brussels, in London, in a number of cities, and in Germany in particular, we were successful in banning the diesel cars, and also to actually implementing the European regulation, which exists for many, many years, but no one was actually applying it. We have also worked a lot in Poland, and at the very beginning on a specific aspect of protection of the nature, which is the primary forest of, and I need to read the name, Białowieża. And Białowieża is the last primary forest in Europe. It's a fantastic area with a number of protected species. And we were successful there because we bring the case to the European Commission. The Commission asked the Polish state to do something. The Polish state refused to do this. And then the Commission brought the case to the European Court of Justice. And the European Court of Justice imposes fines, heavy fines, daily fines, to the Polish authorities. Then they stopped to exploit the forest and to log into the forest. We are still continue to struggle because it's not the end, but I mean, it's a major movement as well there. And then in China, and the story about China is fantastic, I think. Because when I joined ClientEarth, I was surprised we were working with the Chinese government. My feelings were like, China, they're not democratic. How can we help them? And how is it possible? And actually, James told me that at the very beginning, he met a few judges from the Supreme Court in China. And these judges were very interested to know how they could actually integrate environmental law into their own system. Because they, of course, have huge environmental issues. Air pollution is a daily issue for Chinese people. The same with the wildlife destruction, the same with deforestation, etc. And so, and they were thinking, instead of being monitored by another big public authorities like the European Union or the United States of America or who else, why don't we talk to these activists in Europe that seems to be, we can at least spend and discuss with them. These are lawyers. And then they asked us to come to China and train their judges. So we initiate a training program for judges, prosecutors, and also NGOs in China about how to implement environmental laws. And these programs of several years is delivering. Recently, James came across one of his top contacts at the Supreme Court, and he was told that they were not that happy with the way it was enforced, but at least they had 48,000 cases already launched in China against regional governments, against businesses. So it's working, like in Chinese stuff. When they decide to go, they just implement. And so they have 48,000 cases running for environmental protection. Fantastic achievement with a team of less than 10 people in China. This is our organization in China. I'm going, so I'll the way we are, I can exchange with you the way we are founded. We have received recently fantastic support by the guitarist of Pink Floyd, providing us the money he collected in a public sale of all its guitars. It's a huge amount of money for us. We secure business for the next 10 years. We are so happy, and we can continue to take your money as well. So continue to feed us, because the needs are huge and gigantic even. And then we are, as I said, we are turning to Asia. We're also trying, this is my job, we're trying to develop something in the agriculture and food systems, because it's becoming an issue everywhere in the world as well. People are considering, oh, well, we have a soil, we have water in agriculture, we should change something. So that's something I have in my slide presentation, which will be made available. I think you have a lot of information about the different sector where we are active. As I said, China, a top case for us, clean air as well, and the Białowieża aspect. So I came to the end. And I'd like to conclude my short, and sorry for being, if I'm a little bit too long, but I think in addressing the issue of the empowering citizen, maybe some of you are still wondering, well, that's nice, but those are legal stuff. How can I get involved there? I think a key in our legal developments is awareness. And awareness, because all the lawyers, if there are lawyers practicing at the bar, if there are officials, if there are prosecutors, judges, etc., at the end of the day, there are citizens like you and me. So they have to face the same problem, the same climate risk as we do. And by the way, some of them are young. And on the top of it, the vast majority of the lawyers have children. So, I mean, it's really expressing your views, explaining that it cannot continue the same way is important. I was last week discussing with a judge at the European Court of Justice, private discussion. He will not go public with this. But he told me, as a judge in a democratic society, my job is not only to apply the rules of law, like it's explained in the textbook, it's also to read the society as a book. And I need to make it consistent. I have a rule, and I can read the society. And my job is to make it consistent. So if the society is saying we need to change something in terms of protection to the environment, it will ring a bell to the judges. And it's not a surprise to me that at the highest court in France, in the UK, in the EU, and in other countries, including the US, people are thinking we need to do something for tackling that climate risk. And everyone, even the lawyers. So that's the first point. The second one is that I'd like to attract your attention on two of our most recent initiatives in the UK. In the UK, and this is quite a transition for the next panelist, in the UK, we have launched in December a complaint against British Petroleum, BP, because of their greenwashing advertisement. I mean, they are going everywhere saying we are becoming green because we invest in renewables. And at the end of the day, we've crunched into their data and discovered that they only spend 2% of their investments, 2% of their investments on renewable energy. And they claim everywhere, guys, we became green, that's fantastic. So we are asking to the OECD, and it's quite a creative procedure from the legal point of view. We're asking the OECD, please impose them to stop advertising they are getting green, or if they'd like to show that they do something, which is good, then they should have to add a ban at the top of their ad, like in the tobacco industry, saying, but we will still continue to sell fossil fuel energy. That's our main business. That's our ask. We don't know where we will end up. Maybe we'll have to launch an initiative against all the majors everywhere in the world to change. But I mean, it's the first step. The second one, which has been launched on Thursday this week, was we sued the British government on a new project which was to build a gigantic gas power station in the North Yorkshire. It's the company Drax has received a permit from the UK government to build that gigantic gas power station, while at the same time, before their inspectorate authority in the UK checking the permit said it is not a good project. We should not allow that because it's not necessary in terms of energy supply, because it's not good for environment issue, and because at the end of the day, the gigantic investment that the public will have to make will be paid by the taxpayer. So it's not good. Don't do that. And so we are, since the government actually decided to go for that, we have decided to sue them in court. I'll see where it happens. But we need you. We need your support. We need that, not only your financial support, but we need you to say that you're not okay with the way the policymakers are deciding. And so it's very, very important, even if it's slow, to have the support of the public. Thank you.